This is Annie Fox of Family Confidential, Secrets of Successful Parenting. My guest today is Chester L. Hall Jr. He is the author and founder of GoodLife-Coaching. Chester is also the one who helps tweens, teens, and young adults succeed in life with more positive energy than you've ever heard coming from anyone. Hi, Chester. Welcome to Family Confidential.
Hi, Annie. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How's it going with you?
Pretty good. Can't complain.
Okay, or as my aunt used to say, I could complain, but what good would it do?
Exactly. Nobody wants to hear it anyway.
So really, this kind of segues into what we can control and what we can't control, right? And yeah, as a coach and mentor of tweens and teens specifically, I know in my work with them that they feel out of control a lot of the time. So I'm wondering, kind of like, just starting off, what kind of messages do you give to the tweens and teens that you work with about this idea of feeling out of control?
Well, one of the first things I tell a lot of my teens and tweens is, it's really hard to mess this life up. Even when
Ah,
you feel at the very bottom and you're in the doldrums and nothing else can get better or get worse, it's really hard to mess this up. So even if you really make some really huge mistakes, there's always time to bounce back. This isn't the end all. This isn't the last game. There's always going to be another game to play. So therefore, one of the things I always want to reemphasize to them is to let them know this is not it. This is not all there is. You've got a lot more time. So don't sweat it. If you make a mistake, get back up, keep moving forward.
oh, I love that. I mean, because so many of them catastrophize every little thing, and it's like, oh, my life is over, and I completely messed up that. That's it. I'm not bothering to go to school anymore because I've been humiliated, embarrassed, and yeah. So this is very hopeful to tell kids, and I have a sense they don't think this way.
No, not at all. I mean, just like you said, every, social media post that talks about what this person wore today or who they're going on a date with is the last thing that could ever worse or the worst thing that ever happened to them. And, once I help them overcome saying that, okay, there is another time, there is another day, you will survive this, we will get beyond this. And I kind of talk to them or talk through how they could actually get through it. It actually gets a lot better for them.
It's interesting. I just got an email. I don't know if you know this, but I've been on the receiving end of emails from tweens and teens and their parents for the last 19 years now. I'm probably in the next generation of people now. But I got one yesterday from a mom of a 15-year-old who's very upset because her daughter is the target of a rumor and her daughter doesn't want to go to school. So this is the idea that we're catastrophizing and my life is over. On the one hand, you're saying, no, you've got another chance. But on the other hand, to continue walking into what I consider maybe a battlefield at school and online, how do you help your mentees in this area?
Well, one of the things I usually do to help them out is try to identify what the rumor's about, and a lot of times you can't even find out where it actually
Right.
started, but most teens can identify a common source or a few individuals of where this might have started from. And then pretty much I start kind of helping them rebuild, the self-esteem, how true is this, is this really valid? And then pretty much also I ask them to, find out how deep this is actually going. Is this a isolated incident, or is this something that's going across the school or across the division? And even though it is a big deal for teens in that time frame, what I also want them to understand is that this is usually an isolated incident. What usually happens with a rumor is somebody has discovered a chink in somebody's armor.
Oh,
In this
yeah.
case, it may be the young lady is almost could be somewhat impenetrable. She may have great grades. She may have, be dating the star football player. She may, be on the honor society or whatever may happen. And things are going really well for her. But somewhere down the line, someone saw a weakness and they decided to exploit it. So that's exactly the same thing that happens with bullying as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's a weakness somewhere, whether you're not the best looking or you don't wear clothes that are top of the line or name brand, and they know that you're self-conscious about that, so therefore they go in and they just nitpick and then exploit it to the point where it becomes a vulnerable area for them.
Okay, so here's a question for you. Why do people want to exploit the weaknesses of others? I'm going to pretend I'm one of your 14-year-olds. You're helping me out and you go, Chester or Mr. Hall, why would people want to be so mean?
It could be a numerous amount of reasons. I mean, the first one I'll say is the nature of the beast. I mean, that let's get that one out of the way.
The
That's the
beast
elephant.
being human beings?
The beast being human beings. we
Okay.
we thrive. We thrive. Human beings thrive on negativity. I mean, it's the same thing that
Wow.
happens when for a perfect example,
Mhm.
okay, we could go to, or we could be driving down the highway, okay. You're looking down the highway, it's like, oh, there's just traffic, and I can't get through it. I wish these people just go ahead and stop rubbernecking. But what happens when we get up upon the accident or the police car that's pulled over another vehicle? What do? We
Well, look.
turn, look at it. Exactly.
Yeah.
We look at it. It's the negativity that's in us. It's instinctual. And unfortunately, because of that, we tend to look for the weak, and we try to
Mm.
find out who is going to be the person that I can feel better than or feel more
Ah.
superior. So unfortunately, it's the nature of the beast. But on the flip side of that, there are a lot of other things that could possibly be happening. I mean, you have to look inside what could be going on in somebody's home life or in somebody's personal life. They could be the one that's being harassed at home or in their neighborhood. So in order to feel better about themselves, they go to school and they find the weakest person and they try to target them.
Okay,
So
so if
that's
you
just icing on the cake.
yeah, no, no,
They
this is really interesting. So what you're talking about on two levels is, okay, this is the nature of the beast. Human beings kind of try to make themselves feel better if they're in an insecure place, and most tweens and teens are feeling pretty insecure about who they are. So the idea that I can put someone else down, and the falseness of that is that it's going to make me feel better because at least I'm not as bad as that person. But the flip side of
yes.
this is you're talking about is compassion. You're talking about um, getting out of yourself enough to say, well, what might be going on with this other person that's causing them to spew this negativity?
Yes, and it happens all the time. I mean, I speak with a lot of teens right now at in my local, community, and when they talk about they're being bullied or they're being picked on and teased and stuff of that nature, I have to go back and I ask them. I was like, "Well, what do you know about this person? Why do you
Oh,
think they
yeah.
would tease?" And they kind of dig back, and it was like, "Well, there was this time during the freshman year that XYZ happened in the lunchroom, and
Yeah.
everybody laughed at them."
Mm.
And I might have been one of those people that laughed at them. I was like, okay, so even though you weren't the initial culprit that started laughing, they might have turned around and saw you laughing at them and said, you know what, hey, you were laughing at me when XYZ happened freshman year. So now that I see that you have a weakness, I'm going to go ahead and exploit that.
Wow, it's
So,
payback time.
it's payback time for sure.
Yeah, but Chester, it's like I know you and I are peacemakers. We wouldn't be involved in this kind of work if we weren't. And so we are, even though we say it's the nature of the beast, there's a part of us is very optimistic about the other capabilities that are also hardwired into human beings, which I believe are empathy and compassion. But we're certainly getting an awful lot thrown at us where when you try to do the right thing out of kindness and goodness of your heart, you're often mocked or put down, and that makes it hard for kids to do the right thing.
It does. And you're right. There are a lot of people out there, and there's always that inward compassion about kids as well as adults that want to help other individuals. But I think it becomes an internal thing. Once kids are really comfortable, and I say kids, I'm even speaking about adults with this.
Oh, sure.
Once people in general are very comfortable with who they are as an individual, the rest of the world really doesn't matter. You
Mm.
know, um, perfect example when I was in high school. I was the stereotypical African American young man that liked to play soccer, what they classified as the Caucasian sports. And, but I was raised in Germany. I was ex-military brat. I'm an ex-military brat right now. And that was the sport they played. They played soccer. So that's what I grew up playing. And I loved it. But there were a numerous amount of times that I was, classified as, an Oreo or, oh, he's
Mm.
just a white boy or whatever else like that. And I was very self-conscious about that for a while. But
How did you
after
wait before you after a while? How did you deal with it in the moment? I
um
hope you didn't quit soccer.
no, no,
Good.
no. Soccer. I love soccer. Soccer is a passion of mine. So that was out the window. But the main thing I did with that is I did a lot of reading. I read a lot.
Mhm.
I read a lot about personal development, a lot of historical heroes or historical figures and how they overcame adversity. But the biggest thing I did, I met a girl that liked me for who I was
Yeah.
and didn't want anything from me. She knew I was a nice guy, I was smart, and I played soccer. But ultimately, she just liked me for who I was.
Mhm.
And that happened in my junior year. And after that, a lot of stuff just kind of went out the window. It's like, I don't care what you say. I don't care what you say.
Doesn't
This
matter.
young lady likes me. So therefore, I don't care what anybody else says. I'm good.
Oh,
And fortunately, I married that woman today. So
oh, smart guy. Smart guy. Okay, so what I hear you saying is, when someone believes in you, all of a sudden, your self-esteem goes up and your ability to fend off the negativity goes way, way up. It's not that you're fighting back. It's like you don't buy into it as much. And kids who are isolated, who don't have that support network, that one friend, um, I think what I've heard is that a lot of them kind of feel like maybe all this stuff I'm hearing from the other kids is true. Maybe what they're saying about me is true. It's really hard to feel good about yourself if you don't.
And you're right. One of the things I deal with a lot of students and teenagers right now is not being involved in their local community or at school or at church. And I asked them, I was like, what do you do on a regular daily basis when you come home from school? Oh, I just sit and watch TV. I may play some video games and I eat dinner and I go to sleep. And I was like, you don't do anything else? And no, that's just what I do. What does your social group look like? Oh, well, I don't really hang out that much, or the people I hang out with are, in trouble. I don't really do anything. So then it becomes one of those issues where individuals that are seeking favor to build their self-esteem in other people, they go looking for the wrong people. You
Mhm.
know, Perfect example. There's a young man that I'm working with right now, and he's sober. He did have some addiction issues, and he got cleaned up and everything. But the whole entire time that he was using on a regular chronic basis,
Mhm.
I think he segregated a lot of the people that he would have initially found a lot of solace in, a lot of positive people, a lot of progressive individuals, and instead he started drawing in that crowd that used the same things that he was using. So now that he's clean, he's in the middle of two separate groups. There's the group that could have been his potential friends that really don't want much to deal with him because of his past. And then you have the group of friends that, well, I don't want to really be affiliated with you because I'm trying to clean myself up and get away from that life. So
Oh,
there he's caught in the middle. So
wow.
therefore, where do I go? And
And what do
unfortunately,
what do you tell him? You have advice for him?
well, I speak with him a lot. I speak with him a lot. I speak with him on a regular weekly, well, no, actually daily, every other day, and I meet with him on a weekly basis. And I tell him like, look, don't regress to where you were in the past. Keep moving forward. He is a part of the hockey team and our local street hockey team. So they have practice on Wednesdays and they have games on Fridays. And I told him, I was like, those kids that are out there playing hockey with you, they're all there for the same thing. That's a progressive movement. They're there playing hockey. They're not smoking. They're not drinking. They're not causing mischief. They're out there playing hockey. They're all there for a common purpose. Those are the individuals that you may want to start reaching out
Right.
to find, solace in and find people that you can actually hang out with on a regular daily basis. So he has actually started doing that.
That's
So
great.
tomorrow is his next game. And I told him, I was like, well, I told mom, I said, Mom, if he's having some difficulties making friends, maybe you need to have a little gathering over at the house. Nothing elaborate, nothing
Yes.
huge, just, maybe some pizza and sodas, movies. So
Invite
therefore,
some guys over.
they can come over and hang out for a little while. And
Yeah.
that'll help build up his self-esteem as well.
That's a really great idea, and I'm glad we've segued into the parent role because most of my viewers and listeners are parents, and when they see their kids either making choices that don't feel right to them as a parent, or they see the kids struggling in isolation, being targeted at school or online, parents, we we care when our kid is suffering. We're suffering, and so I'd love to have you here. Um, just tell us a couple of takeaway tips for parents if you feel there's some warning signs that you're observing with your son or daughter in the area of connecting with the right people. What can you as a parent do to help?
Well, one of the first things I would say is dive in, but don't dig in.
Ooh,
And
okay. Tell me what you mean by that.
what I mean by that is, don't be afraid to go in and start, asking questions, do some investigating, find out what their interests are or what their interests used to be and why they're not interested in those things anymore. But at the same time, don't dig in to the point where they feel like the kids feel like their privacy is being invaded. It's easy for us to say, well, my friend Margaret has a son or a daughter, and we want them to interact with our kids because we're friends. Well, you and Margaret might be friends, or me and Dan might be friends, but it doesn't mean that our kids are going to be friends.
Right.
So, you trying to force that, is only going to make them distance themselves from you even further.
Okay.
As far as finding hobbies, put different avenues or put different opportunities in front of them. If they don't take to them, so be it. If they do, great, let's run with it. Dive in, don't dig in. The main thing is that you just don't want to have a complete hands-off kind of situation,
Right.
because the kids, they want to make sure they have an advocate, and you are their first advocate as their parents.
Totally. I love it. Okay, we only have about a minute left, Chester, and during that time, I'd love for you to give our listeners and viewers an opportunity to find out where they can learn more about your work on the web.
Okay, great. You can find me on my website at www.goodlife-coaching.com. I'm probably in the midst of changing that, but I found there was another coach that had the same website almost, so I'm in the process of probably changing that pretty soon. But as for right now, it is goodlife-coaching.com. You can find me on Twitter as well at @agood, and the two O's are actually zeros. So A Good Life. And those are the two areas I spend a lot of time on as well. I'm on Snapchat, I'm on Instagram, but on my website, I have links to all that as well.
That's great. So you're very accessible. And I'll bet the kids that you inspire and motivate connect with you there as well.
Yes, all the time.
Wonderful.
For example, I make a habit of posting on Instagram at least 2 to 3 times a day. And sometimes there are instructions, or sometimes there's little tips or quips. Other times it's just random motivational quotes.
Yeah, it's so important for kids today to feel like there's somebody who cares about them and is there to listen and really support them in the way that makes them feel good about who they are. So I applaud you for the work you do. I'm so glad we had an opportunity to talk. Thank you so much. This is Annie Fox for Family Confidential. To learn more about my work with tweens, teens, and their parents, visit anniefox.com. And check out my parenting book, Teaching Kids to Be Good People, Progressive Parenting for the 21st Century. And my latest book for tween girls, the Girls' Q&A book on friendship, 50 Ways to Fix a Friendship Without the Drama. And please rate us on iTunes. It helps other folks find this show. Family Confidential podcast is produced by Electric Eggplant, creators of books and apps for parents, kids, tweens, and teens. And tune in next time when my guest will be Caroline Green. Caroline is an author, recovering lawyer, and chronic overachiever who believes you don't have to stop being you to be an awesome mom. Till next time, happy parenting.